3.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Brew live on Brew Sports. It is a Tuesday edition of the program today, and there is a lot to get to. But before we get to anything, it's business as usual. I am Baxter Colburn, but Jaymee Evers is back finally. My goodness. Good morning, Jaymee. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been sad without you. I tried not to cry yesterday. Thankfully, Mackenzie helped keep me together yesterday.
Yeah, she did a really good job.
She did. A very special thanks to Mackenzie Laurent for joining us yesterday, filling in so admirably. She was only about like a 5.5-foot flyer. She wasn't the full 6 foot, but she did a great job yesterday. But we definitely missed you. How was your trip? How was Nashville, Smashville?
Good.
I'm sorry.
It was 90 degrees on Saturday.
Oh
it was
gosh.
Beautiful. So we
Just
spent
stop.
outside, grilled out, and then the game on Sunday.
My
Which
goodness. Got that W.
Great.
That W, that 3-1 victory over the Blues.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was awesome.
Is it still kind of surreal, like, knowing, like, what is going on with this series? I mean, it's still, I feel like if I was you as a fan, I would still just kind of be like, this still is real life. Like, we actually are winning. Like, we've got a real shot at this.
Yeah, I'm shocked at how efficient and quick and precise they're playing. I'm surprised that they've made it this far. For those of you that may or may not know, they've never made it past round 2. I mean, the Predators are only 19 years old. Next year, they'll be around for 20 years, so they're still an extremely young team.
Jeez.
And
I didn't realize they were that young.
Yeah, 1998. And
Wow.
and one thing that I'm finding myself doing more is reading a lot of like things on Facebook and finding a lot of like comments and arguments, and like it's just funny how people just can't, and like obviously I'm super happy right now because I'm a Preds fan, right? And I don't really care about anybody else. But it's funny how upset people get when teams that aren't known for doing well do really well. So people always have all like really negative comments
People
to
get
say.
bent out of shape.
Right, and it's just like I'm always someone that likes to take the underdog. Like I picked the Wild, I picked the Blue Jackets, and like they never go very far.
Right.
So
now that the fact that the underdog is finally succeeding.
It makes me really excited.
Rightfully so.
So I don't know. It's cool to see it. I like, and I'm excited to see people that are players that aren't typically doing well in the regular season. Like Colton Sissons didn't even play for the whole season, and now in the playoffs he's just killing it.
It's crazy.
So. Yeah, it's exciting.
I can tell. No, it's great to see that you obviously have such a big passion for this, so it's exciting to see your passion coming out. And we'll be able to expound on that passion a little bit later, too, when Jeff Charles, one of our NHL correspondents, swings by the program, too, to help us kind of talk about everything. Big news last night in the Caps-Pen series. Sidney Crosby going down with an injury as well, too. An upper body injury, as the hockey world likes to call it. So we'll hopefully dive into that a little bit more. But first, a good morning to Jeff and Josh, also wishing us a good morning on Facebook. Great to see all of you. We are live streaming on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Spreaker.com. So make sure you tune in on whatever platform works the best for you. And don't forget to share with your family and your friends and everybody else as well, too, this morning. We are asking 2 questions today off the back of some information that we're going to be talking about. Well, you'll understand the context of it a little bit more. First question today is, will you think Colin Kaepernick play in the NFL this season? Now, the draft is passed, but Colin Kaepernick has been seen doing other things off the field in a positive manner that kind of proves that he doesn't care as much about playing football, but we'll get into that in our What's Brewing in just a moment. Also, in our What's Brewing segment, we'll also be talking about something that will relate back to this, is we're asking, what's your favorite video game to play, whether it be on an actual console or if it's a little like Super Mario Run on your phone or Minecraft on your PC, whatever it is. Just curious to know, because we know people like to play different kind of games. Some people just like to play solitaire. My grandpa sits on his computer for hours at end and plays, solitaire on his computer or Hearts or whatever too. So everybody's got their own different things. So it's always fun and interesting to see what games people like to play. So those are our 2 simple questions of the day. Of course, you can find us on the social media universe at BrewSportsNet on Twitter, at Baxter Colburn, at Jaymee_Evers for all other Twitter and other social media things, I guess, right?
Right.
For the most part.
Realized your shirt.
I was going to see how long it was going to take you to realize.
I kept looking at it. Like, stop looking at it.
What is like, this is like what a girl feels like with big boobs.
Like, is that a Santa dabbing?
I have a Santa dabbing sweatshirt. So
he has no legs. They're little, like, stubs.
Little stub legs. Yeah, I'm, so this morning, here, I can do that, maybe a little bit easier. But, so this morning I was getting ready, and I just was very cold in my house, and I'm like, I need to put something on that's going to help me stay warm, and I'm like, I know for a fact I have at least one sweatshirt that always makes me feel warm. It's my dabbing Santa sweatshirt, and I decided to put it on, so
I think I have Christmas sweaters, but like after Christmas, they go back in a box.
And it wasn't a box, but it's also a box that's still in my closet that's still visible. So I
Okay.
looked at it, I'm like, still cold, but like I feel like that's just kind of become my persona. Like I just kind of wear whatever the heck I want, and
Yeah.
that's just part of my personality, I feel like. So hence the reason why I'm like, I'm gonna dab on Santa today. And
I like it.
Jaymee, you made fun of me for dabbing before on the program before anyway, so I'm like, it just kind of goes hand in hand.
It fits.
So it works. So that's what Santa dabs on this morning for the morning brew. But the morning brew, of course, was we lead off with our What's Brewing segment, where we talk about a couple of things in the world as a whole that people are talking about or what's trending. Going on to that first question of the day about Colin Kaepernick. I don't know if you've heard about this. I just recently heard about it, but Colin Kaepernick apparently has been donating some of his old suits to help others find work. He's been handing out suits outside of a parole office, which is kind of a unique thing. You don't hear that. He's been standing outside of New York City's parole office with 2 boxes of custom-made suits that he's had when he was a member of the 49ers. And he's just been handing them out. He had an Instagram post that says, "Know Your Rights campaign." The campaign says the suits will make parolees better equipped to achieve gainful employment and live more productive lives. Kind of a cool thing. I mean, this off the back, of course, of the controversy of Kaepernick kneeling during the national anthem last year and protesting the Black Lives Matter and all that other craziness that was going on with that. He's still unemployed, technically. He was released by the 49ers. There were thoughts that he might get signed by an NFL team, but he also has kind of not completely come out and said that he's fine if he doesn't get signed because he's made his money. He has a lot of life left to live, and he wants to continue to make a difference in the world. Do you think he's going to play football this upcoming season?
I don't know, because I also don't know if this is actually him caring or this is him making up for last year.
Publicity stunt, maybe?
Yeah. I would like to think that this is him just wanting to help the community. You know, we had talked a while ago about him donating money to a bunch of different organizations in Milwaukee,
right?
To help with underprivileged youth. And now this, so I hope it's all real.
That's the hope with stuff like this. Yeah, I
and
think
it's not just him being
is.
like, I sucked. You know, I was a shitty quarterback last year, and I hated America last year, but this year I'm going to show you that I'm going to make a difference, and I can play still. I don't know.
See, that's the thing with something like this for Colin Kaepernick. I read this article, and I always try to see people in the best light initially. Until you prove me wrong, I'm going to assume you're a good person.
Okay.
And I mean, I know that he's already had his negatives, but the fact that he's been kind of out of the media for a while, just doing whatever he's been doing, now he's back trying to hand out suits. I think he's trying to take the right steps. I do think this is kind of goes hand in hand with him and the fact that he does still want a job, and he's trying to prove to the world that he is still a good guy. Be like, hey, yeah, I was protesting the national anthem, but I'm a lot better now, I promise.
Right.
Like any of that kind of stuff. So I think he is trying to walk that back a little bit, but I think the fact that this is still him genuinely trying to make a difference. So I do support him for that specific reason.
Okay. Now, talking about him playing, does anybody need a quarterback right now?
Well, that's
like
the
where
thing.
he would be able to go?
Well, the team that needs a quarterback is the team that got rid of him, the San Francisco 49ers. Cleveland also potentially needs a quarterback, and they failed to really go out and draft a high-caliber quarterback. I mean, you could make arguments about a couple of different teams probably. They could still use some sort of assistance. So I think that the job market is not completely closed if you're Colin Kaepernick. You have an opportunity to go and still make a difference somewhere, but I don't know if someone's going to pull the trigger on him, if Jay Cutler's going to get a job. I mean, there's a couple of those veterans still floating around out there.
Right.
And let's not forget, for the right price, I bet you Tony Romo would leave CBS and still come play as well, too. So I don't necessarily know, but I think Colin Kaepernick will find a way to end up on an NFL roster before the regular season kicks off, honestly, in August. That is one of the 2 questions we are asking today. Josh agrees with me. He says, I think some team will pick him up by mid-season. Yeah, I mean, with the injuries, the bug, the way that flies, usually around mid-season, I mean, you know, the way that certain quarterbacks go down, and it wouldn't be surprising, honestly, if Colin Kaepernick finds himself on a team as the starter by week 7 or week 8 because XYZ got hurt and there was nobody else available to help kind of come in and rally the troops. So it's always a possibility, to say the least. One of the other What's Brewing topics that I know that others like Brew and Adam and others watching will probably appreciate is I don't know if you ever played Call of Duty or not.
I have.
I played a little bit with one of my friends. I played the Black Ops game with my college roommate. He was like legit into it, and I just would like to pick it up and just run around and shoot people. I wouldn't play online, wouldn't do any of that stuff. I was not nearly that good. But apparently, for those that are the huge Call of Duty fans, Call of Duty World War II is coming out soon. They announced that they're going to have something unique about this upcoming game. First ever, there's going to be female soldiers in the multiplayer version, which I think is really cool because World War II is when female soldiers became a hotter commodity. You see a lot of the historical pictures of some of the women with guns looking all badass, like, whoa, like that's pretty crazy. But I think this is a really unique and a smart move by the makers of Call of Duty. How did you react to this when you heard this for the first time?
I think it's cool because I think growing up with three brothers, right? I played a variety of video games, and it was always cool when games catered to the women, and not saying all women, like, okay, and then like a race game, like a car game, like pink cars or whatever. But there was still that option there that if you wanted a pink car, you could have a pink car.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, guys probably didn't pick the pink car, but
Usually
girls
not.
could if they wanted to. So that was always cool. So this is super cool. There's a lot of women in the military. I don't see why they wouldn't. Like, not doing it probably would have stirred the pot a little bit more. I just hope people don't look too much into it and be like, well, she wouldn't really run that fast.
And that's the thing. I mean, you're gonna get those people that are gonna pick this apart, unfortunately, a little bit more, and be like, well,
just
like,
be happy.
Be like, well, and it's always the stupid stuff too. You're gonna get like the super avids, be like, well, women's boobs weren't that big during World War II. Like, was she even wearing a bra? Like, come on, guys, you're trying to make this sexier than it is. Like, just because she's a woman with a gun, like, there's gonna be those people that are gonna pick it apart actually, instead of just appreciating the historical moment that this is for females in video games.
I agree, but no, I think it's super cool.
Do you have a favorite game that you played either as a kid or that you still like to play for fun while you're sitting on the toilet at work?
I mean, like, I'd have to say that I'm a big, like, Mario Kart person.
Cheers
but
to
if
that.
I were to pick something, like, newer, like, beginning of college and high school, I definitely played a lot of Call of Duty with, like, my brothers, like, my high school boyfriend, like, my college guy friends, so...
I think that was kind of like the not the stereotypical thing to do, but like if you were a girl, like, and you dated some more of like a gamer guy, like that's kind of like you were like the cool girlfriend, and be like, dude, like my girlfriend loves to play video games.
Yeah.
Like that's like bragging rights for guys. Like, oh my god.
I don't know if I loved to play them or I played them because he wouldn't get off of the video games. Like, like I would go over to his house and we would play Call of Duty because otherwise we weren't hanging out. You know what I mean? It's like he wouldn't let me play on live with him like under his, I had to be like, because there was like, if his name was, you know,
whatever, Bob 25 or whatever.
Right. I was Bob 25 too, so that I couldn't kill like his kill streak or his.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I know that's the thing. People would get so like bent out of shape like for their kill streaks. Like even when I played with my friends and stuff, like the little bit that I would play, they would be like, all right, you can have this throwaway profile because I don't care about that one anymore. Like I ruined that one. But you know, don't touch this one, or like there would be like debates about like who could kill the last person or whatever, so that way like they could keep their kill streak alive. And I was like, good God, I'm like, I just thought we were playing a game, guys. Like I'm not trying to make this a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Big Ken likes Call of Duty.
Big Ken. Ken and I need to not only play golf, not only drink, but also play Call of Duty together. Brew raises a very interesting point, and I'm curious to your thoughts about this too. Brew said, my dad taught me to never hit a woman. I don't know how I feel about shooting one in a game.
Oh, stop it.
See, that's the thing. There are those people. And that's nothing against Brew. This is just a general question. Like, there's going to be people out there that are going to have an issue with shooting women. But, I mean, if that's the thing.
It's a video game.
If they are in a game like this, you are saying, and you're basically acknowledging that you are okay with trying to shoot them.
Yeah.
If they're female soldiers for Russia or female soldiers for Germany, and they're trying to shoot you as the American troops or whoever you're playing for, you have to kill them. You're not going to just sit there and just get shot every time a female soldier rushes you. Like, and I don't know how many female soldiers were a part of other nations and I'm not a huge World War II history buff, but it's part of the game. You're gonna try,
I mean, you also don't see
win.
too many women in the infantry line, and if you do, they're not like front of the line.
And that's the thing. I don't think you're going to get a lot of infantry gals, but of course there's going to be some running around with guns now, of course, in this new World War II game.
I think you're fine. Shoot them.
I think it's a monumental thing. I think it's a good thing overall to say that women in games because you've got like the female leads like the Lara Croft Tomb Raider and some of those games.
Right.
Like, those are good games, but in a game that is particularly violent on purpose in a historical setting, like females were there. Like you didn't have Sven from Germany running up to Lisa from Massachusetts and being like, "Oh, you're a woman. I'm not going to shoot you."
Right.
Like he shot her. He didn't care. You had
Yeah.
you had the wrong colors on. Boom, you're dead.
Right.
Nobody was trying to be a gentleman on the battlefield. That's the honest truth about it, you know? That's just how I feel about it.
No, I think you're right.
Did you have anything else for us this morning? I know there was some really weird stuff that I know we're going to kind of talk about a little bit more, a little bit later on, but I was going to ask do you have anything else for our brewing segment before we get to the slick-looking Jeff Childs?
No, I think we can move along.
So Jeff Childs is one of our hockey correspondents. He also helps out with some of the great what's the word I'm looking for? College sports stuff that we do as well. He was a big integral part of our NCAA coverage as we moved a lot through the season, or the NCAA tournament as well too. But Jeff does join us this morning here on the Morning Brew. Jeff, a very good morning to you this morning, sir. How are you today?
Good morning to you guys, Jaymee and Baxter. Good to be on. Actually, I think this is my first time for NHL coverage, so very happy to be on this morning.
Absolutely, yeah. First time for everything this morning, Jeff. I do want to ask you, we are asking the questions of the day. Did you have any video games that you played at all as a kid that you love, or what's your go-to mobile phone game nowadays?
Yeah, I don't really play a lot of games on my phone, but I don't really have much time for video games these days, but definitely back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember this game. There was a game for the N64, Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey.
Oh.
And it wasn't just the game or the gameplay, but it was, I mean, the graphics were a little bit wonky back in the day in the late 90s, early 2000s, but that was sort of it was a console game, but it was a throwback to really sort of an arcade game. You had sort of the kind of like bubble hockey with the players with bigger heads, and the puck was really big, and it was a really fun game. I don't know if you remember it.
I've heard of it. I never embarked on it. The most I've ever played from a hockey perspective, I think, was NHL 08, and then also backyard hockey as well too. So that's as deep into the hockey video game world as I've ever got.
I'm not good at sport video games at all. No, it's too many buttons. Like you got push one to pass one way, you got push one to run another.
Deke with the stick. You can cross check with the right bumper. It's like what's going on? Too many things. Well, one of the things that Jaymee, you obviously are knowledgeable about is real professional hockey taking place and the last night the Pengs going, I don't know, that team that's from Pittsburgh, the Pengs and the Kangs over there, the Caps and the Pengs played a 3-2 overtime thriller. The big story though is Sidney Crosby going off injured.
Right.
What did you take away from this game last night, from this injury, and also the Capitals getting a very much needed victory as well?
I think it's just going to show a lot how either good or bad the Penguins are without Sidney. It's always crazy to see a big part of a team get taken out, right? Like when they sit LeBron, like when Steph Curry doesn't play, when same thing with like basketball. The same thing happens with hockey. Mm-hmm. You take out Sidney Crosby, you take out Connor McDavid. What do you have left in those teams? Unfortunately, that everyone relies on them. With the Blues right now, everyone's relying on Jake Allen. The people are saying that he's the only reason that they're still in it. So you take out a key component, and what you're left is for a team to prove that they still deserve to be there.
Right, and I agree with you on that one. I mean, even in any sport, that's the case.
Right.
I mean, if the Packers or Patriots sat Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, I guarantee you it's an entirely different product that's on the field.
Right, and the Penguins have had Sidney Crosby for so long.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see if they have to play without him.
Jeff, what do you make of this injury? Does it completely kill any possible title hopes for the Penguins, or is that too much of an overreaction?
Well, I mean, you take away one of the best players in the game, as Jaymee said, and that certainly doesn't help Pittsburgh. I mean, Crosby is at his best when he is in that sort of power forward mold, when he's driving to the net. I mean, he can make plays off a 2-on-1. He can make plays on the rush. One of the best players in the game for a reason, and he's a very slippery player. He can get away from the other team's top defenders, and that certainly puts the Penguins at a disadvantage. But as we saw last night, that did little to really hurt their drive and their ambition to fight back in that game. They were down 2-0. They get a couple of late goals, and they tie it up and send it to overtime. So, while it's not good news for Pittsburgh, they certainly showed near the end of that game that even if Crosby is out there, still going to fight to the bitter end, and that's what they did.
And I think one thing, if you're Pittsburgh, it's great to see that Evgeny Malkin is basically ageless. Like, no matter, I mean, I know he's not like incredibly old, but the fact that he continues to perform on a consistent basis is huge. He was a big part of their title run a couple of years ago. He still continues to pick up the pieces, and I think he kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit because his name isn't Sidney Crosby, and he hasn't been hoisted in the limelight like Sidney has been. But I think Malkin is still an incredible player. I mean, he accounted for 4 total points last night in the game. I mean, he's done a lot for Pittsburgh, and he's going to be called on a lot more now, especially if Crosby can't go for this next game. But you look at not only this series, but you look, of course, at the Nashville series with St. Louis, a 3-1 victory for the Preds over the weekend to make it a 2-1 series now moving into the next game, which I believe is tonight. Is that the next game? So the series moves to, is it St. Louis now?
Yes.
Okay, so the series moves to St. Louis now for Game 4. This series, I feel like, is what a lot of folks are watching, not because St. Louis has just been blowing people out of the water. Yes, they did do some weird stuff to Minnesota, and some folks are saying that Minnesota just played a bad series. They just got some bad luck to the draw. How good is St. Louis? Because Nashville apparently is good enough to beat Chicago in 4 games,
right?
But St. Louis has done one thing that Chicago hasn't done when they won a game against Nashville. Does that mean St. Louis is better than Chicago?
So I didn't get to watch Game 2 because I was in the car, but we listened to it, and it seemed like, I don't know if the Blues are as good as they had in the first 25 minutes of the game. 9 minutes were penalty minutes.
Wow.
Or they were on the power play for 9 minutes.
Okay.
And they didn't even, I don't think they scored on those at all, if I remember correctly. Or they only scored once. So we're, the Predators are shorthanded, giving them obviously the advantage to score. They scored once, but only once in over almost, that's almost half of the time that the game was being played that they were
scoreless
on the
second
power
period
plays.
too for both teams.
Right, and then they finally in the third, I think
St. Louis scored 2 in the third, and Nashville only got 1 in the third.
Right. So, are they better than the Blackhawks? Probably not.
And I know that's a bold statement to make, but you consider the fact that St. Louis did something that the Blackhawks didn't do, which is, I think, which is why some people.
But I don't know
are
if
confused.
you can just say just because that the Preds swept the Blackhawks, that the Blues scored on the Predators, that they're better than the Blackhawks. I don't.
Well,
think...
the Blues beat the Predators, though. That's what I'm saying. They beat them in a game, which is one thing Chicago never did.
Right. I don't know if you can necessarily say just because it happened in the playoffs that they're better than.
Right. No, and I would agree with you on that one. Jeff, how do you analyze the situation though? From my perspective, do you kind of I understand there's a series that has to be played, but do you kind of get what I'm kind of poking Jaymee at with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very fair to say that if it's just one game, sure, Baxter, it's one part of a series, but St. Louis has had more success. I mean, you can look at it and quantify it than Chicago did against Nashville, but I look at the series too, and I'm really concerned for St. Louis. Offensively, as Jaymee said, Jake Allen's one of the biggest reasons they're in this series. But I mean, you look at the series as a whole, and Nashville defensively, excuse me, whether it's PK Subban or whether it's any number of the defensemen for Nashville, they're making life really hard on Tarasenko. They are making life really hard on the Blues offense, and St. Louis has got to do something different to Saltback Arena, whether that's drive the net more, excuse me, whether that's get deflections in front, because he is seeing everything, he is stopping it, and as good as Tarasenko was in the regular season, he's been really a non-factor. That's got to change for the Blues.
A couple of quick comments here on Facebook. Caleb on Facebook says that Jake Allen is better than Corey Crawford. Jaymee, I'm going to kind of put that one in your court to see if you would agree with Caleb on that one.
Jake Allen's still pretty fresh in the NHL, so I'm not really sure.
Crawford's been around for a while.
Right,
yeah.
we've talked before. I've seen him play, when he played for the Wolves more, and I honestly haven't paid attention to him at all until this series or until the playoffs started. Corey Crawford's getting, I don't want to say he's getting old, but he's been around for a while, so I don't know if it's the whole fresh meat, super excited kind of thing. But right now he's obviously playing way better than Corey Crawford is, which makes me wonder why they didn't start Scott Darling more this season, but whatever.
But that's irrelevant to the conversation. That's true. All right, moving away from St. Louis, moving away from Nashville. Anaheim has kind of quietly just been pumping the oil out of Edmonton a little bit. They beat them 6-3 on Sunday night. They're going to get another crack at them on Wednesday evening. Of course, Ottawa and New York are going to play tomorrow night as well. But talk to me a little bit about this Oilers and Ducks series, Jeff, and your takeaways from that thrashing the other night from the Ducks.
Yeah, well, it's certainly they've certainly changed their formula. They've certainly changed the recipe than what we saw in the first couple of games, where Edmonton was really dominating time of possession. The puck possession was there for them. I mean, Connor McDavid and his mates could do whatever they wanted against Nashville. But I think Nashville has figured out maybe a different way to approach Edmonton and a different way to approach their puck possession, their pressure, because they look like a totally different team. Well, will this approach change the series for Anaheim? I don't think so. I think on the whole, I think this is still Edmonton's series, but we finally saw some life from the Ducks after they looked pretty lifeless in the first couple games.
And I guess maybe this is my lack of experience with hockey, but isn't it difficult to score 6 goals in a hockey game? I mean, it's a small puck, it's a big man in a little goal. I mean, in theory, it would be very difficult to do something like that. Am I wrong to think that 6 goals, and especially in a playoff game, is kind of unheard of?
No, I mean, you're exactly right. You rarely see – that's sort of the mantra and the calling card for the playoffs every year is that, while teams can be a little more freewheeling in the regular season and they focus more offense, the playoffs are about defense. They're about sacrificing your body. They're about blocking shots. They're about taking opportunities away from the other team. And really, the playoffs are almost always about who has the better goaltender. So, I mean, you're right on with that. Baxter 6 is an abnormally high number, but every once in a while you'll have a game like that in the playoffs. But for the most part, you're right on. It's about defense and it's about who has the hotter goaltender.
Talking with Jeff Childs, one of our NHL correspondents here on the Morning Brew. Last series to talk about briefly is kind of the one series I think that's been flying under the radar. Jaymee and I had both taken the Rangers to win the series, and we find Ottawa up 2-0. Their next game, of course, is taking place tonight while the Blues Preds play at 9:30 Eastern. The Senators Rangers play at 7 p.m. Eastern. Jeff, this series, as we mentioned, kind of flying under the radar. Ottawa has been decent all season long. Same for New York. They were a little spotty here and there. But have you taken anything away from the series, and or have you even bothered to pay attention to the series because it doesn't have the big flashy names like most of these other series do?
To be honest, I'm not going to never lie to you, Baxter. I
appreciate
watched
that.
The series much as the other series right now, and a lot of that's for good. I think the other series are just a little more interesting. They have the star power, as you mentioned, but I think at times in the series, I look to the series and I look at the goaltenders, and Henrik Lundqvist, even though his team is down 2-0, sort of like Jake Allen with St. Louis, Lundqvist has really done a lot to make the big save and try to keep his club in this. But I just look at this series, and I think it's frustrating to see guys like Zuccarello for the Rangers and a lot of their other forwards not produce offensively in this series. And I think that's what the problem is. For the series, I mean, yes, the Rangers in Game 2, they had 5 goals and went to double overtime. But for the most part, I feel like Ottawa has done a good job in taking the Rangers out of what they want to do and really shutting them down.
All right, Jeff, good stuff from you, sir. We appreciate you swinging by this morning. Where can people find you on social media?
Find me on Twitter. That's at Jeff J. Childs, Geoff, and then J, and then Chiles.
Perfect, Jeff. Thank you so much for swinging by, sir. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good morning.
Not you as well. There goes Jeff Childs, one of our NHL correspondents here on the Brew Sports Network on the Morning Brew. Quick check on the comments really fast. Caleb answering our questions of the day. He said, Colin will not play in the NFL this season. I have a feeling he's getting blackballed just like Ray Rice is. Yeah, that's definitely been one of those links between players that have, Ray Rice has still been trying to get a job the last 2 years. Now Colin Kaepernick, similar issues as well. Caleb also says his favorite video game is NCAA 14. Non-sports, it would have to be Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit. Those Need for Speed games were phenomenal back in the day. Love those.
I always played them and played like a real car. So
played like a real car? What does that mean?
Is that the one where cops chase you, right?
Well, yeah, that's Hot Pursuit.
So I stopped at the stop and go lights.
Did you really? You never just blew through the lights?
I mean, sometimes, but then
You're such a law-abiding citizen, Jaymee. Wow. That's so amazing. Did you stick your hand out to signal for a right turn as well too? Did you ever play the Grand Theft Auto games?
Yes.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
I never did. I
have 3 brothers, Baxter. I played all of them. Played all the video games.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just was curious if you did or not.
Mm-hmm.
Did you participate in the shenanigans?
Oh yeah. But I also drove like a law-abiding citizen in that game
What?
too. Sometimes.
Would you
Other
go
times
up to people's cars and be
prostitutes.
sometimes they have it coming. Did you ever walk up to cars and be like, excuse me, would you please get out of your car?
I don't think that those vocabulary words were inside of Grand Theft Auto.
Or probably in middle school Jaymee. Or
Yeah.
high school Jaymee. I said, get the fuck out of the car. Like, whoa, good God. All right, easy. I'm trying to think what my favorite video games. I mean, I played a lot of sports games growing up. I mean, Tanner and I talk about how we love backyard football and backyard sports as a whole on halftime all the time. I love the Madden games. I love FIFA. I don't know if I have a particular game though that I was like in love with. I mean, I love board games. I love playing Catan and Ticket to Ride. I don't know if you've ever played any of those or not. Those are super fun games. Aside from that, I love Farkle. I don't know if you've ever played Farkle as well.
I have not played Farkle.
You have to come to the Colburn house and we'll Farkle you properly sometime.
I like Cranium.
Cranium. Okay, yeah, I know some people.
We
bought
used to
those
play.
games.
This is really stupid, but we used to play guys versus girls, and it was always my friend Peyton and I, and we had one character, and then the boys had another character.
Of course.
And if you lost, you got to like light it on fire a little bit, or like chop its leg up. I'm not sure why we did that.
Whoa.
But they became like mutants by the end of.
Sounds a bit.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Cranium game I would not want to be trapped in.
I'm
Sounds like a
not
horror movie Cranium.
I'm not sure why we thought that was a good idea, but it was.
I have no idea. There's been some. Okay, so we talk about how you maybe will possibly, if you're lucky, find Mr. Right at some point, right? And you've talked about how, proposals are kind of whatever. Like, I think, have I showed you my proposal? Like, I had
Yes.
like the flower petals and all that fun. But yes, anyway, it was beautiful. You can, if you really want to find it, just look it up on YouTube. Just look for my name and proposal or whatever. Anyway, so one of the stereotypical things that happens at sporting events is somebody will get proposed to on the Jumbotron, or they'll do it at center ice, or some cutie, mushy, blah, blah, blah,
Cheesy.
whatever kind of thing. So a fan was at the Boston Red Sox game the other day and was like, I'm here in Boston. Things have been going great with my girlfriend and I. Why not propose? Like, that would be great. Unfortunately, she said no. She said no while the entire stadium was chanting, say yes.
Right.
How do you say no when the entire stadium is chanting, say yes?
I'm pretty sure.
The cameraman can't even bear to watch anymore.
Like, it was bad.
Where'd all the Cubs fans go? Right next to him.
I don't even
Here
see
comes
like
the
what's
rain.
going on.
Around your girl? There you go. Just say yes! Just say yes! Just say yes! Don't do it! Just say yes! Don't do it! Say yes! Don't do it! Say yes! Just say yes! Just say yes! God. All right, you gotta do is bring a girl here, but you're gonna be divorced in 2 years. Pressure.
Yeah, but you didn't give her one date, bro.
Oh, what are you doing in your life?
Yeah, no. Just half-assed.
Just give away everything.
Yeah, half kind of scarf.
That commentary is probably the best part about it. It's not even on one knee. What are you doing with your life, man?
What
so
are you doing?
she said no, and it was rather embarrassing. It's a little sad, honestly. I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure, and I don't know for the females watching if you would be all about that life or not. But like, that's a lot of pressure.
I think I went on a rant one day about.
You did.
Yeah. Don't do it there.
Don't do it there.
Don't do
We've
it.
also had Jessica Kleinschmidt, one of our baseball correspondents, has gone out to say, she's like, I absolutely hate stadium proposals unless they say no. And then it's funny. And then I'm all about it. I'm like,
Right.
it is. It's very stereotypical. It's like, oh my gosh. Like,
be a
there's
little
so
more
much,
creative.
There's so much pressure.
Come
Or like getting
on.
proposed to at an event. Like, hey, it's Christmas here with my family. Like, open up a
Right.
package. It's like, oh
Don't
my
make
gosh.
it all about me.
Like,
or us.
why do you like? Because then like, there's added pressure.
Yeah.
You know, like if I were to propose to you, whatever, at like a college graduation ceremony in front of thousands of people, it'd be like, sure. Like
Yeah.
you'd probably in the moment you might be like, oh, that's so great, but then you probably would have been like afterwards, been like, can you like? I really would have preferred you not have done that.
I saw a video once of like a guy proposed to his girlfriend at another person's wedding, and like it was during the bouquet toss, and the bride went to toss the bouquet, but she tossed it super far back so that the boyfriend or the fiance caught it, and then when all the girls turned around, he was like on one knee and he was like, "Oh, marry me," which is cute.
I feel like
But-
doing that at a. You said that was at a wedding.
Yeah, I was at someone else's wedding. So the bride. Props to you, girlfriend, because it is supposed to be all about you and your husband that day.
Yeah. How do you convince a bride to like share the spotlight?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's hard to do.
If it was like my best friend, like if Alicia was getting proposed to,
Right.
I'd be like,
Like, girl, like,
I got
like,
you.
that's cool. Like,
This
totally
can be
fine
about us
with me.
now. But yeah, just do it in private.
Interesting. Hannah says she would have definitely said no if Adam embarrassed her like that. I can understand that, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm assuming Adam didn't do something like that. So, Josh also said supposedly the people saw that couple arguing earlier in the game. Never gonna work. Pro tip: don't ask a question you already don't know the answer to.
Well, and the camera guy was super awkward. He was like on them, and then he like turned away, and then put his head down.
It's like, look, things are happening, but they're not. But they are still. Like, that is a little weird. Like, okay, I mean, my proposal was a little much. I will admit that. Like, I had 2 dress rehearsals for my proposal, but there was a lot of timing that had to happen. There wasn't a lot of people there, but there was a lot of people behind the scenes making it happen. Like, there was just my wife and I and one person singing. Like, that's all it was visually.
Right.
She obviously could sense that there was probably 8 or 9 other people around, but they weren't out there. And I think that there was, I don't know. I guess I've really thought about that because I knew she was going to say yes. But obviously, there's always like that 0.001% that you're like, she's going to say no because you're like, well, why wouldn't she say yes? But then you're like, but what if she did? Like,
Yeah, like, do you think that this couple like never talked about it before, and he's just gonna like spring it on her? Like, I feel like if you're like,
I feel like there's a lot of planning that has to go into like organizing that like at a game.
right, and usually you have to pay too to get jumbotron time, like
Right.
if it's not just from like the kiss cam or something, so it probably costs him a pretty penny. As
I would
well.
assume so. I just find it a little funny and
Yeah.
a little sad. All
Like,
at the same
take that
time.
$600 and put it towards my ring.
Seriously. Well, maybe it was a nice ring. Maybe it was a bad ring. Or maybe she was a
Maybe.
Yankees fan and she's like, really? Like, you're going to propose to me at Fenway Park? Like, you asshole, get out of here. No idea if that's actually what happened or not, but you never know. You can speculate with stuff like this. Speaking of dates, speaking of relationships, you get to go to some weddings this coming summer. I get to go to a couple of weddings as well, too. Granted, my wife is my date, but
Right.
have you ever had just like an awful date or a very questionable date, like to an event?
No, because usually if I don't have anyone to go on, like, I'm cool with riding solo.
Right. So last night was the Met Gala. I don't know if you paid any attention at all. It's
Nope.
another award ceremony or whatever, another event for people to feel good about themselves, basically. But people are buzzing about Jaylon Smith and his quote-unquote prop, or some are calling it his date that he took last night. He took a handful of his dreadlocks with him
He did,
to the Met Gala.
and he's had them for a while. His hair, they cut his hair
Right.
in preparation for a movie, so they've just been sitting in his house.
That's what I want to know is number one, where have these been?
Right.
Number 2, what's wrong with his teeth?
He's got a grill on.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, and
I
he
was
looks
wondering because I was like,
stupid.
dude, wearing like fangs or vampire
Yeah,
teeth?
it's a
Or, like, what's
grill.
going on? Like, there's some
looks
weird stuff going
dumb.
on. Like, there's a lot going on in this picture. You can tell the girl in the background there to the right, she doesn't care. She just is like, like, man, what you doing with your hair in your hand kind of thing. Like, there's a lot going on. But the Met Gala is known for the, like, rogue fashion statements, though, from what I've been told throughout the years.
Looks
But
like he has a black tee from Target on, some dress pants and a trench coat, and some stupid shoes.
yeah,
high
and like
heels.
2 or 3 chains around his neck.
Right. You look stupid.
He does, but I mean, at the same time, isn't this par for the course for Hollywood, though? You know, like people are like, oh, absolutely, like I'm gonna totally dress like this because I know I can get away with it and not get judged, but also get a ton of free publicity about it.
I just want to know if he's holding them together or if he has a hairband around them.
It looked like he just kind of like, I feel like they were sitting on his dresser before he left, and he just
He
kind of
just
like
scooped
scooped him up, like, all right, well, I'm gonna just hold him in my hand now.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with him, like when you have to go to the bathroom, or like the thing actually starts? Do you like set him down somewhere? Like it's a roll of
Yeah. How do you eat?
of dreadlocks, or do you just throw them away at the end of the night and be like, all right, whatever, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna move on with my life. I've done some crazy things with my hair, as you've seen, but I could never get my hair that long. I'm just not about that life. But a rather strange and odd thing to see somebody go to the Met Gala with a roll of their own dreadlocks as their date,
Right.
basically. A little strange to me personally, but who knows? Remember, we are asking 2 questions of the day. A very good morning to Sarah and Liz and others tuning in. Adam, we asked the question today, what's your favorite video game to play, whether it was on a console, on your phone nowadays. We're also asking if you think Colin Kaepernick will play in the NFL this season also. So I think I've answered both of those questions today.
Yes.
I answered the video game one for sure. I think I answered the Kaepernick one. You've answered both of those those as well too. So let us know your thoughts. I did see that Adam said he really enjoyed playing Street Fighter 2 when he was younger. I've heard about that game, never played it, but I heard that it was a good one back in the day. Everybody's got their own their own ones to play. Liz says favorite game, Mario Kart all the way. Yeah, my wife and I are looking at buying a Wii or an old N64 so we can play Mario Kart in some of those games again.
You can get a 64 with like 2 controllers and a couple games off of Amazon for like $60.
I'm going to look that up right now.
Because I think I looked when I just got Prime the other week. I was like,
Like, wonder what I could get.
yeah.
N64. I'm going to just look. I love that you literally just have to look up N64. Like, that's like the easiest thing in the world, I feel like, to like look up, like from a branding perspective. Yeah, you can get an N64 system video game console for $50, it looks like. Let me see here. Available from these sellers. Well, it depends. If you want it brand new, it's going to cost you $600. If you want it used, you can get it starting at $50.
$600.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, it's all depending on if you want used acceptable, used good, used very good. Like, the prices shoot up. So the used acceptable one, console only, no cords or controllers. I don't want that.
Yeah,
It's useless to me.
Sounds terrible.
The good condition, very clean and tested. See pictures. That's like $78. My gosh, I feel like it's almost going to be easier to buy a Wii with games. You know?
Nintendo 64 system. Oh, this is probably the one you just looked at.
Yeah. I think it's
gray
probably
one?
easier to buy a Wii. Like, I can buy a Wii here, a Nintendo Wii for $66 potentially. A Wii bundle for $75. Wii console for $67. Yeah, if you want to get like the Nintendo Wii U 32 gig Mario Kart 8 pre-installed deluxe set, you can get it for $421.
I didn't know that you could sell things on Amazon. Like, where are they coming used from? Just like a toy store?
I guess I don't
like
know.
Joe Schmo from the street.
It's probably a way that you can sign up to be like a distributor or something of that nature. Josh says that we should get a Wii. Jeff says Wii bowling. I think that honestly buying a Wii would be beneficial not only for my own personal benefit, but also for Brew Sports as well too. We could have tournaments live on the air, and I think people would tune in for that in all honesty, because who doesn't love a good Wii battle or Super Smash Bros. On the Wii? That's always a good time too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research and see if I can't...
Ooh, a grape one for $7.
a grape? Grape what?
Nintendo 64.
What?
Purple.
For $6?
64.
64.
No, I lied. Where am I seeing my numbers?
I don't know. That's why I was confused.
$69.95. There we go.
Plus shipping and handling?
Yep, because it is not Prime.
Lord have mercy. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research about that, but I'm all about that. If you have a Wii game that you like to play, I love Wii Baseball. I love Wii Bowling. Wii Golf is very difficult to play. Did you ever get into the Wii Resort sports at all?
Not really into it. I've played them, but
Right. Wii is, unless, I can't do like the games that you have to, like, that would be much better using like a normal like PlayStation or a normal Xbox to play. Like, where you have to like just move your character around. You're not actually doing much like with the wands themselves. Like, where Mario Kart, like, you're driving. Baseball, you're hitting a ball. Like, golf, you're swinging. Bowling, that makes a lot of sense to me. But the games that you just literally use your controller and walk around, I'm like, this is pointless. Why didn't I go buy a PlayStation or an Xbox? That's
Right.
what I would buy those for. That doesn't make sense to
Right.
me. I don't know. Yeah, Josh says Mario 64 is one of the all-time greats. It is. And then that's the thing. Like, if you want a Nintendo 64, they are available, but you're going to have to pay through the nose to get one if you want to get the 64 plus Mario Kart as well. I really want them to come out with an app for that. I think that is a huge market that that Nintendo is yet to get into, and I really hope and pray that they get into that sooner rather than later. I don't know if they will, but I pray that they do. Jeff also says you can be a seller on Amazon similar to being an individual seller on eBay.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a bit more research. I would love to buy a Wii and get that Mario Kart swag on. Be all about that life. Absolutely. All right, Jaymee, before we go, I know that today is Tuesday, which means it's Terrible Tuesday. It also is Yes Drama Day as well, too. Do you have a Terrible Tuesday bit for us at all?
Yeah, I think anybody that is a Raptors fan or the Raptors in general are probably having a terrible Tuesday because the Cavs just trolled them the entire game. So at first everyone was like, oh, the Cavs, like, blew the Raptors out of the water. And then I saw the score and I was like, what are you talking about? But then I watched highlights and I was like, oh my gosh, they were just playing. Like,
Right.
they were just playing.
Like street yard ball
Yeah.
yesterday, yeah. I think I heard the
So,
score
yeah.
at one point yesterday was like 38-8 or something like that. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know if that was
I know they were up
true
by
or
like
not.
20 points at one point. But they,
It was bad.
yeah, but it wasn't even the fact that the end score was. It was the fact that you could clearly tell that Cavaliers were not trying at all.
And they were still just making everything. It was just,
Yeah.
it's kind of like when you play that friend who is clearly better at you than a game, and you're just like, I'll still play because I think I can upset you. And like you actually start playing like, okay, this was
You're
a
like, no, I can't.
bad mistake.
No,
Like
I
I'm
can't.
actually awful. So
Yeah.
my bad. Forgive me about that. Yeah, Toronto. Listen, were they the better team in the Milwaukee series? Yes, because they actually were able to rise above and flex their playoff experience muscles a little bit more than what Milwaukee was able to do. I think Milwaukee would have been a better series with Cleveland because they've got more length, whereas Toronto is a lot more scrappy and a little bit more just not as versatile as what Milwaukee has. I think that the Milwaukee-Cleveland series would have been a lot more interesting, but obviously Toronto just kind of grinded their way past the inexperience of the Bucks to now be there. Listen, Toronto's going to be lucky if they steal a game. They really are. Cleveland's going to likely sweep these guys and be on their way to the conference finals and just hang out for either Boston or Washington to come up and finally give them maybe a half a chance.
Yeah.
And even then, I think it's going to still be bad. So I'm not putting a lot of stock in Toronto, in all honesty. I think that if they're lucky, they will not completely get destroyed, but they're likely going to get swept, I'll be honest. So that's my opinion. Somebody that I think is having a terrible Tuesday is Baltimore Orioles outfielder Adam Jones. If you haven't heard about this, there were racist chants being spewed at him basically during the game at Fenway Park. So not only were failed proposals taking place, but racist chants were also getting tossed out towards Adam Jones.
Real classy Boston.
Right? Get the hell out of here. Next thing you're going to be telling me they have like sites like Barstool. Wait a minute. Anyway, Jones came out after the game saying that these people were cowards and it's pathetic. Jones has been a visiting player for 12 years at Fenway, spanning 77 games, and he has been subject to racial issues in the past as well, too. So this isn't a one and done. Like, Boston has notoriously slandered him and thrown slurs at him
Oh, well, that's sad.
for the last couple of years that he's been there. He said, I was called the N-word a handful of times tonight, he said. It was pretty awesome out there. Thanks. Pretty awesome. Yeah, just part of the job, right? He said, it raises a very good question. I mean, should there be punishments delved out for that? Or, like, if you're security and you're in that area, those fans should get tossed. But, I mean, there's, thousands upon thousands of people at these games. It's hard to just go
Pick 'em
up to Bob and Sue and be like, all right, you guys are shouting the N-word, like, get out, kind of a thing. Like, how do you know where those chants are
Right.
coming from?
I also just don't understand how people are just so mean.
Right.
Like he says, he's like, I'm just trying to make a living for myself and my family. He's obviously doing a pretty good job. Like, I just don't understand people's hatred for others. I don't know.
I agree. No, that's the thing. Like, when you talk about such hatred in this regards, like, that's what really gets me the most about this, is that this is 2017 and we are still dealing with racial issues.
Right.
And this is not the first time that it's happened either, which I think is even more ridiculous, because how can you justify this? Boston has had African American players on their team before. They have had non-white players on their team before. They have Asians, they've had Dominicans, they've had Hispanics, they've had everybody on their team. Those guys aren't getting chanted. Is it just purely because they're not on your team? Is that
Right.
really what it comes down to? If Adam Jones was a Red Sox player, would none of this have happened? If that's the case, like, that's a little crappy, in all honesty, if
I
you're a
agree.
Red Sox fan. Like, you need to grow up and stop acting so childish in that regards. Apparently, according to Benny on Facebook, he says they were throwing peanuts at him as well, too.
Yeah, a bag of peanuts. That I did hear.
That's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It just, there's something that should be done. Liz says, agreed with the hatred towards others. Show love, y'all. Josh says, if that happened at Fenway, then the MLB should do what they do in Europe. Find the team and make them play a game with no fans in the stadium. Yeah, that's happened before.
Really?
Yeah. Because the racial chants are bad over in Europe. I mean, there's numerous times where that literally is the issue, though, is like, there is no just white team.
Right.
There is no just black team. There is no just Asian team. Like, yes, there are some when you really look, but like at the upper high echelon levels, you've got people from all over the world on your team. So if you're telling me that you are only chanting racial things at this black guy or this Hispanic guy because they're just not on your team, they're not your black guy and your Hispanic guy, that's so wrong and so offensive that I think that people need to be, issues need to be dealt with. I mean, people need to be banned. Fans need to just be like, listen, you guys have lost your privileges. No fans at the next couple of games. Like, you're punishing people in the sense that they can't enjoy their team that they love, but you're sending a message that you're not going to stand for it. But the thing is, Boston's probably not going to do that because they know that their fans give them hundreds of thousands of dollars
Right.
to go to their games, and they're not going to just clear the stadium. This isn't a Tampa Bay. This isn't, smaller market teams that don't care. Like, you can't get away. Like, you could get away with that in Milwaukee. No offense, Brewer fans, but like you could. If only 10, 15,000 people go to the games, like, are you really going to miss those fans if they're gone for a
Right.
game? Like, probably not. You really honestly aren't. They don't make the atmosphere in Miller Park. Like, if you go to Fenway, it's all about the 20, 30,000 fans that pack the stadium. And if you got rid of them, of course there's going to be a noticeable difference. So I think that this is something that Major League Baseball needs to focus in on, and they need to address it now. Otherwise, they are going to be completely thrown under the rug and continue to lose respect from people like myself and numerous others out there that already have questions about the league.
Right.
So that's my thought. Bill says your black guy or my black guy was the first thing I heard. Interesting morning. Yep, exactly. Good morning to you, Bill. It's good to see you and hear from you. I mean, that's the great part about live TV is that you never know exactly what part you're going to tune into. But Bill, we were talking about the racist chants being tossed at Orioles outfielder Adam Jones and how people, how people freak out about the black guys on their team. They don't say a thing about it. But as soon as you're a black guy on another team, all of a sudden everybody is freaking out. So long story short, that's what we were talking about. But yes, you're a black guy or my black guy. We've all got that one guy. It blows my mind. Or even like for females too. Like really, like when people slander, another woman, but it's like, you're married to a woman, aren't you? It's like, well,
Right.
yeah. It's like, what's different between your woman and that woman? Because you're just not married to that woman? It's like, I don't know.
That was a good. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that was good.
No, thanks. I mean, I think that kind of goes, our Terrible Tuesday kind of goes hand in hand with the yes drama, honestly. I don't know if you've got any other side yes dramas that you need to pitch out there at all or not. We are getting ready to wrap up the show, but we are still asking our questions of the day. If you'd like to get at us, I see a couple more comments rolling in, but I'll reiterate the questions of the day. Do you think Colin Kaepernick is going to play in the NFL this season? And we're also asking the question, your favorite video game to play, whether that be from your childhood, whether it be now on your mobile phone, your Wii U, your Nintendo Switch, whatever the kids are using nowadays. Any of that stuff, we'd love to hear it. A couple of great comments here. Liz says, I don't think Colin will be playing. To be honest, teams want to be known for what they are doing, obviously, as a team and not just what's in the media for shenanigans one player is up to. He could be picked up still, but I think teams are really skeptical. That's a very valid point. I mean,
Agreed.
nobody wants a PR nightmare. That's the thing with a guy like Johnny Manziel, who has supposedly been trying to rehab to come back to play again. He's been training hard, supposedly, in the offseason to come back. But do you want that nightmare? He's had the drinking issues. He's had the partying issues. I don't care if he can throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. Do you want to deal with the PR headache that comes with signing a guy like Johnny Manziel?
Right.
And some teams have to know. Well, can you justify that? Would you want that on your team?
If he's performing well, probably, but he doesn't, so who knows?
Right, exactly. Looking at some of the other comments briefly, Josh said, Major League Baseball should absolutely address this, and the Red Sox need to come out and denounce the actions of a few of their fans. I agree. I mean, you even heard some of the fans, I know they was talking about the proposal, but when we were watching that proposal video too, like they're shouting like, they'll be divorced in 2 years,
Yeah.
or say no. Like, Boston fans are
people
ridiculous.
in general are just obnoxious. So
Jeff also says it would take players on Boston to say something before action is taken on their fans. I agree. Completely agree. Well, Jaymee, this has been fun. I always love when you're here, and I missed you yesterday, but I'm glad you're back. How was your first day back? You feel good? Feel good to be back in the chair?
Good.
Was it?
I haven't had coffee yet, so
Ah,
starting to lag a little bit.
starting to like. Thankfully, it's time
Yeah.
for us to get out of here, so you can grab some coffee and just
will.
chill and take a nap on the studio floor for a little while.
It'll
But
probably be right here.
probably.
So,
If you could see the camera into the studio after we get off the air, Jaymee, like, this is how it goes. I sit here and do a little bit of work, and Jaymee closes her laptop and she sleeps for like 30 minutes. It's exactly what happens every time.
I'm tired. I'm a tired girl.
I get it. She's a hard worker. But we appreciate you, of course, being back. We appreciate all of you for your great comments today as well, too. A lot of great stuff to continue going on through the week. There's numerous different things. The Kentucky Derby is this weekend as well, too. I know Jamie's a big horse-loving gal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure we'll talk about the Kentucky Derby at some point, among numerous other things as well. So remember to find us on Facebook, Brew Sports, Twitter and Instagram at Brew Sportsnet. You can find all of our shows live streamed on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and on Spreaker.com. All our podcasts are there as well, too. go and check it out. You can also go to our website, brewsportsnet.com, for the latest articles and information about Brew Sports. She's Jaymee Evers. I'm Baxter Colburn. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time on Brew Sports.
3,